Welcome to BlackUSA.News Morning Show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations to all my people out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and the honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Whew, I got riled up a little while ago listening to Donnie Glover in a special edition this morning on the launch or the beginning of the Maryland General Assembly. They got into a lot of really heavy issues regarding regarding cannabis production and the legislation around it, and how, by and large, that legislation, those efforts to expand opportunities to African Americans failed. Um, it was a big deal when we were getting locked up for weed. But now that there's money to be made on weed, now, we have to take things into consideration. We have to look at economic impacts and equality and racial preferences. Well, interestingly, we don't talk about racial preferences as a bad thing when it comes to the criminal justice system. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The majority population doesn't. So it was a really great conversation, and the Maryland General Assembly kicks in today at noon, and it will go for 100 days. And so we'll keep you updated, talk to some of the elected officials in Maryland and some of the advocates to find out what's going on, because there's a lot of stuff, at least in Maryland, that's going to impact the Black community. We also want to make sure that if something is going on in your community, let us know. We want the entire diaspora to understand what's happening with the Black community in the United States. All right, as always, big shout out and much love to the super producer Crazy Horse. We have been having a great time. Just to let you all know, we're going in March. March is Women's History Month, and for the morning show, it's going to be the month of the woman. We are going to have some of the most amazing and dopest Black women you ever met come and just share their stories, and to make sure that we are doing what we can to support Black women. There are times where, as a man, I think I'm doing supportive stuff, but come to find out, I wasn't really helping. I was just doing what I thought should be done. And so I want to make sure that we hear from the women in our audience and in our communities on what we actually need. Let's see. Today, actually, on that same vein, today we're going to talk to Ashley Tate. Give her an opportunity to introduce herself a little bit later, but Ashley is one of these amazing women that will also be back with us in March. Ashley has an incredible story that she's going to share with you, and not just a story about tragedy, because a lot of times in the Black community, we look at tragedy as the badge of transition or the badge of honor. If it wasn't hard, it wasn't worth it. Why does that always have to be the case? In Ashley's case, her success is great by itself. But when you look at her success in the context of the other things that she's experienced, it takes on a totally different flavor, totally different sense, and gives us an opportunity to see what we can do to really be in the community and help people like Ashley and provide the resources, because all Ashley has ever asked for was a shot. And you give Ashley a shot, her aim is great. Well, you know what? I love Ashley, but I'm gonna give her an opportunity to talk about it. That's one of the things about knowing people, especially because you know how awesome they are. You want to tell everybody. You're like, oh, let me tell you. But no. We're gonna let Ashley tell her own story. Hey, good morning, Michael. Let's see what else is going on in the world that I want to tell you all about. Let's see. Oh, yesterday's show. Yesterday's show was amazing as well. Another dope woman that a friend of mine, you all got to meet, Misha Sutton. She talked a lot about how she advocates in the educational context as well as in the cultural development context or cultural sharing. She talked about her experiences going to Ghana and what that was like, and then coming back to America and having people ask her questions about did she see any lions. She's like, I was in a city helping the community there. I wasn't on a safari. But for a lot of people, the only thing they know is what they've seen on TV, and that's about, you can feed a village for price of a cup of coffee. So they didn't understand that it was a well-developed city with problems and resources like a lot of other well-developed cities. And so she wrote her book, Grace Goes to Ghana, and talked and really tried to help share what the experience of going to Ghana, and translate that into a way for children. So it was a wonderful book, and we had a great conversation. And she talked a lot about how she uses the different roles in her life to kind of manage what she's doing. So yeah, it was a great show. If you didn't catch that, go ahead back and take a look at it. You'll be very happy that you did. Tomorrow we have Tamika Givens. So you all who have been following the show know Tamika was with us a couple of weeks ago. She's coming back to talk about more things real estate, and I think we're gonna talk a little bit about we're gonna focus on people who are preparing to sell their home. How do you do that in a way that keeps you in the driver's seat? How do you work with contractors and what do you call those people? Inspectors, appraisers. How do you work with all of those people? And what are the red flags that you should look for when hiring a contractor? So all of that is tomorrow. So make sure you come through. Tonight is going to be another amazing episode, amazing show with Sister Biz with Nicole and Tamara. 7 p.m. tonight. Actually, you all just need to be keeping up with the notifications on Facebook and YouTube and all of the other platforms that we're on. Because when I tell you that Donnie has stepped up BlackUSA.News, we have content streaming 7 days a week, multiple shows on most days, and we're in the metaverse. Big shout out to STEM City and Dr. Tyrone Taborn. They are really doing the damn thing and really helping us be on the cutting edge of technology. So y'all would just log on to Black USA News or follow us on Facebook or Donnie Glover on YouTube, and you'll be able to stay up to date on what we're doing, because we're doing some amazing things, and y'all don't even know the stuff we got planned in the background. It's crazy. It's crazy. So want to also talk about our sponsors. Again, big shout out. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. First up is Edible Arrangements in Govins and in Randallstown, and they have a shop in Pittsburgh as well. Make sure you holler at them whenever you get an opportunity. Murphy Falcone and Murphy. Murphy Falcone and Murphy Law Firm. You talk about being in the community. I remember one time they sponsored Ta-Nehisi Coates to come to Baltimore and talk about reparations, and rent out the entire Lyric Opera House. And it was amazing. And so not only are they a great law firm, a great advocate and lobbying firm, but they do a lot of work in the community. That's what we're out over here. Also Darker Than Blue Grill, one of our great sponsors, and they do an amazing job, and the food is awesome. They are on Charles Street in Baltimore, Maryland. So if you're hungry, you want to have a nice time, you want to impress somebody, take them to Darker Than Blue Grill. And last but not least, my company, The Grinding Gang. We have free membership. It gives you access to our knowledge library and business support services, templates, examples, and things like that, just so you can help move your business forward. So that is what I wanted to tell you about that, our sponsors, and letting you all know what's going on. Let's see. What else do I need to tell you guys? I know. I love giving shout outs. Big shout outs to two great people at Maryland Public Television. Charles Robinson, he was on this morning with Donnie Glover, talking about what's happening in Annapolis. He's the host, or one of the hosts of State Circle, the show MPT that talks about what's happening in the legislative areas and, government officials and things like that. So he's been a great friend of the show. One of my frat brothers, AFI. So big shout out to Charles Robinson III. And also at public television, my friend Colette Coakley. She's the vice president of human resources over there and is the leader of their women's leadership forum. And is doing a wonderful and amazing job providing some resources and access that women need to be successful. So again, big shout outs to Maryland Public Television today. Check them out as well. And that's the other part. We're not selfish. We want you to check out all the dope stuff going on because, well, we know we're good. We know that we're amazing, and we know that you will benefit from coming to hang out with us. So, yeah, we want you to check out other things. As I'm thinking about it, before we get ready to talk to another dope woman, if you know any dope women that you believe we should highlight in March, and I'm talking about women who are, engaged in the community, taking care of other people, and who have found success, or those who have found peace. Because one of the things that we want to cover is just the beautiful tapestry that is Black women and their experiences. Their experiences aren't universal. They're not monolithic. They are diverse. They are all of these things, and I think it will help us all, especially some of us men, if we started listening to it. If we got an opportunity to hear the stories in a very authentic way. So that's what we're going to be doing in March. So if you know a woman that is that, or you think we should interview, please have them reach out. You can have them leave their contact information in the comment, or you can hit me up directly on my Facebook page, William Honolulu. Right now it's the one with the big juggernaut symbol on it. Or you can hit us up at BlackUSA.News. All right. So Ashley Tate is an amazing woman. And you know what? We have a short video to give you some of her background before we bring her on.
Hi, my name is William. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Ashley Tate. If you search the internet for Ashley, you will find that she is an author, a motivational speaker, and an entrepreneur. What shapes her commitment to give back to her community is how she got here. There were times in her life where she was homeless. She was the victim of domestic violence and abuse. When she went to the authorities for help and support, they weren't there for her. She didn't give up, though. She found a community of heroes that helped her become everything that she ever wanted to be. With Ashley's motivation and the hero's support, she became a motivational speaker. She published 9 books and hosts her own podcast. Ashley has found a new way to help women like her by supporting the organizations that support them. Ashley has partnered with the Grinding Gang to offer a variety of tools and services to help these nonprofits help their people. If you're interested in any of the services or support that the Grinding Gang can offer, please feel free to reach out to Ashley at ashley.tate@grindinggang.com or visit us at www.grindinggang.com.
All right. Without further ado, I'm going to bring to the queue Ashley Tate. Ashley, I know you won't be able to join us by video today, but can you hear us?
Hello, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Okay, good. I want to make sure that you can hear us. How are you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing pretty good, taking it one day at a time.
Absolutely. So Ashley, they saw the video about you, but let's start off with your successes, where you are right now. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
What are you doing?
So,
Tell us a little bit about how you started in business and what you've been able to accomplish.
Sure. Well, I started in 2019 after I gave birth to my daughter, who is now about to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to just have a career that I would be passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
that will have purpose and will have meaning. And when I was younger, during my trials and my tribulations, I found
Mm-hmm.
that writing and being creative was my therapy. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really like, doing therapy too much because I had to revisit my trauma, and I just didn't want
Uh,
to, keep doing that to myself because, healing is a process. And
mm-hmm.
I feel like if the more and more you keep repeating your trauma, it's going to come back to you.
You know what? We're gonna talk about that later. I wrote that down. We're gonna get into that.
Oh,
Okay.
no
No, sorry.
problem.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so, so what I have done, I always had a passion for writing. So
Mm-hmm.
I turned my passion and my love for writing into a gift. And now, almost 3 years later, I am a proud author of 25 digital products that helps women, teen girls, even toddler girls to understand their worth and
Mm-hmm.
to understand that they are royalty no matter what their past may look like, no matter what their circumstances look like, that they're still worthy and they are worthy of having a good future no matter what the past looks like. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also a motivational speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also a community advocate. I speak out for, I'm sorry, I speak for victims of domestic violence because
Mm-hmm.
I survived domestic violence with my first child's father.
Mm-hmm.
And I also speak out against homelessness for women and children because I also have endured that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and it's not even really a trauma, it's just more as a life lesson, because the day that I
Well, wait,
became
wait, wait,
homeless.
wait, wait, wait. We make sure we stay clear here that now they don't have to be two different things. You can have a life lesson that was also traumatic. Because
Yes,
I don't
definitely.
want
Because,
to devalue the impact of your trauma.
yes, because being homeless with 2 children, it hits you in a certain type of way. So
Right.
that's why I said, like, it helped me to become the woman that I am now. Like, now I would never. I'm like, I can actually say with confidence that I would never go through that again.
Right.
Now that I'm a mom of 3. And
Mm-hmm.
also I speak against you know uh, victims of human trafficking because I
Mm-hmm.
endured human trafficking when I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually speak out against it because I want people to know that it's more than just a white van jumping out and snatching
Mm-hmm.
you and things like that. It's more because I was actually brought into human trafficking by a black woman.
Mm.
So it's like I wanted them to be real about it. Like, it's from social media. They prey on your insecurities, on your weaknesses, on the things that you desire, like a father figure or a mother figure.
Right.
So
Right.
I definitely advocate for that as well.
And you, the interesting part about you is that you have this kind of determination and stick to itiveness, this resiliency that I find incredibly just amazing. And to let people know how I met Ashley. I was at the time I was the executive director of one of the local chambers of commerce, and this woman hits me up in my LinkedIn inbox and it says, "Hey, I'm a professional speaker. Would you like to hire me?" And I'm like, "Who are you? Like I've never heard of you. Like who are you?" And so I look her up and I sit down and I talk to her and meet with her. And it all was just amazing. Having a conversation with Ashley off the break to see her tenacity, and she does not have any problems picking up a phone and calling people to tell them how good her product is, how good her books are, and how helpful she can be to people. And I think a lot of that comes from, or at least in our conversations, a lot of that comes from how you've been able, your mindset, how you look at these things. So, what was it in you that got you to kind of anchor in and not get held back by some of the things that you've experienced?
Hmm. Wow. I think the first thing that I had to realize was that only I could save myself.
Mm.
And I just
Okay.
didn't want to be dwelled in my past anymore because it only led to anger and sadness and regret.
Hmm.
So when it comes to my mindset, I just have to say, if I want it, I'm gonna get it. If I
You
want
just
to
commit
change
to it.
my life, I'm not. And when they say whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. I'm
Hmm.
changing what I want for my life. And
Hmm.
me being strong came from being hurt and let down a lot.
Right.
And like I said, only I could save myself. I was now a mother,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
experienced trauma with my mother and father. And
Oh,
the
wow.
day that I became a mom is when I just became more of an adult.
Right. The
If that makes
responsibilities.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No.
like and like, responsibilities, priorities, and just, making those sacrifices to take care of my children. Like I said, with
Mhm.
me being homeless with two children, it actually built me up.
Okay.
It built me up to be more responsible. It built me up to know that, I would never go through this again. And I know people say, never say never, but I know what I would never
No.
go through again.
But what I also want to make sure that you recognize is that it was not the hardship that got you to be more mature. That was something you did in response to, not really just in response, it was always in you. And one of the
Yeah.
ways that we talk about it here is like, I am not a fan of that whole what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Mhm.
I look at it like this. If I have $100,000, right, and I have an $80,000 emergency, and I'm able to pay for that $80,000 emergency, that means that doesn't make me rich. It just means that I was able to do it all the time. It's just that these circumstances forced me to. I
Yeah.
think, especially knowing you the last few years, the way that I've gotten to know you, it wasn't the adversity that helped you become successful. It was the adversity that gave you no choice. All
Yes.
of these amazing things have always been a part of you. They had your grind, your necessity. I mean, your resilience is a part of you. It doesn't matter. If you can run fast, well, I don't need to have a lion chasing you to make you run faster.
Right, exactly. And it's like, when you're a mom and your children tell you that they're hungry or they're tired of walking,
Yeah.
they want to lay down somewhere. And it's like society makes you feel like you got to do what you have to do to, actually make sure that your family is okay.
Right.
And that's one of the things I would never want to go through again,
Hmm.
because I did have to do that, but I don't feel bad for it because my children were taken care of in the midst of that. Because
Oh,
having
sorry.
children tell you that they're hungry and you're
It pulls at
homeless
your
and
heartstrings.
hmm,
It said it pulls at your heartstrings,
yeah, it does. It
and
makes you feel
especially
some way.
if you've already been through trauma, having that conversation, especially repeatedly, is traumatic in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things you talked about was revisiting the trauma. And talk one of the and so a lot of times when people are asking questions and trying to figure out how to help you, one of the things they want to know is what happened. An example of this is that one of the local jurisdictions had come together to put together a domestic violence intervention program. And they got everybody at the table and they pulled everybody together and they started working together and communicating among themselves. But what they started finding was that people were there for the first couple of sessions, but then they wouldn't come back or go to the first couple providers, but they wouldn't go back. And when they talked to them, they found out that some of it was the fact that they had to go to every provider and tell their story all over again.
Yeah.
For a lot of them, that was traumatic. And it sounded like that's kind of what you were saying as well. Was it traumatic? Like, tell me about the process of, you know what? Let's shift gears, and I think we'll cover this in a little bit. Tell me about the process you went through to access these heroes that you talked about. How did you even find these resources?
The day that I became, homeless is the day I became very resourceful.
Okay.
I used to put my resources in categories like this is for food, clothing,
Mm-hmm.
shelter, job trainings and
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur resources. And I would research for days and hours.
Okay.
And I would just have them all laid out. Okay, so I know if I ever need
Mm.
food, I can contact this person. I know if I ever need shelter for emergency housing, I can contact this person.
Okay.
So different situations have led me to be resourceful. Like, for example, I had a very hard time getting a job
Mm-hmm.
because of my employment history and because of my barriers of not having childcare. And I found this
Mm-hmm.
very great resource called Turnaround Tuesdays. And they actually helped me get a job with the Baltimore City Health Department. So that was
That's
a great
awesome.
resources, that helped me be financially stable.
That is awesome. And so you said you would spend hours or days doing research. Like, what kind of research were you doing? Were you just on Google? Did you call people? Did you have a network? Like, how did you get this information?
I Googled, I cold called, I followed up, I emailed,
Mm-hmm.
I visited them myself so they can know that, hey, this is serious. I really need help. Like it was sometimes I
Mm.
had to drag my children in there to say, this is serious. Like I really need help.
Right, right,
And
right, right, right.
yeah, and then we actually got into a transitional home where I was walking with my children. We was going to church that day. And I actually went inside of a program and I told them this was my situation, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And having your children snatched away from you is one of a feelings that I never want to feel again. But
Right.
what led to that was because I didn't have a home for them, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't employed and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So that really forced me to just up my game up and to just say and to prove to them like, they stand a chance with me. So
Right.
we actually got into the housing program a day later, and we've been
Wow.
there. Yeah, so it's all about getting to know the resources in your community and
Mhm.
not being afraid to apply yourself because
When you say apply yourself, what do you mean?
apply yourself like make the phone calls and
Mhm.
to actually go in and to let them know like, hey, like I really really need help. Like I'm a mom of two. I was a mom of two at that time.
Mhm.
And it was just really hard because people looked at my background. People looked at the fact that you know um I've been through a lot of things and they didn't
Right.
want to hire me. They didn't want me in their program, things like that. So I felt like I just couldn't get no help at first.
Right. And so let's shout out some of the organizations that have been helpful for you because that's one of the things we do is that we make sure that people know the resources that really work in the community. So let's talk it through and anybody that you want to give a shout out to, let's do that because that's big. That's a big deal.
Yes, definitely the House of Ruth. The House of
Mm,
Ruth was definitely they definitely helped me to escape my domestic violent relationship. I definitely want to say a special shout out to I'm sorry, One Family Services.
when yeah, oh yeah, when family services.
Yes, One Family Services was the last because I also grew up in foster care. And
Hmm.
when family services, they definitely helped me to keep on the right track. Martin Pollock project.
Okay.
It's so many. Turnaround Tuesdays was also very very helpful, and it's another. I'm sorry, it,
It's
it
okay.
it's actually a lot. Turnaround Inc. They actually help victims
Oh, right.
of human trafficking, and they
I'm sorry.
didn't.
I didn't want you. This wasn't a pop quiz. I just wanted if there was because you mentioned. I just wanted
It's
to
just
make
so
sure
many.
because,
Like so many have helped me.
but I want to talk about that for a little bit. A lot of times when people are in low points or when they're looking for resources, they're looking for the one and done, the silver bullet. But the way you're describing is like it sounds that looking for benefits was a full-time job.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you had to approach it like a job, like doing the research, preparing for the interviews and the documentation.
Yes.
One of the things that I've heard when I've been working in the community is about the documentation. Um, a lot of programs want stuff. What I've heard is that there's some programs they want documentation that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
If you've been homeless, you might not have a copy of your birth certificate just laying around or your social security card.
Yes.
Um, what type of barriers did you find when you were trying to access services besides the kind of human barrier of the stigma of being homeless and looking at your history? What other kind of structural barriers did you face?
One of my barriers the most was childcare.
Okay,
That was definitely one of my barriers. Was definitely childcare.
right.
Um, and I wouldn't say nothing. I just say like my ultimate barrier was just childcare.
Okay. So, and you know, one of the things that I hear often, and we talk about here often, is this idea that women have to be a superhero in every domain of their lives. You know, like you are responsible for childcare, but we need you to show up at work on time every time, like you don't have children. Uh, and the daycare center needs you to show up and pick your kids up like you don't have a job. And
Mm,
everybody needs you to do all that stuff like you will have a car.
yeah.
You know, our society isn't designed. I, it, it is designed to kind of make Black women feel bad along the way, especially in their mother role,
Yes.
because being a mother is by itself a full time job.
Yes.
And so, you know, how do you balance all of those roles? The entrepreneur, the advocate, the human who's healing, the mother, the employee. Like, how do you handle all of those roles together?
Oh man, I would just say I don't. I would definitely say that it's a challenge to balance
Mhm.
different roles at a time. Like especially with being a mom. Let's just say this: when I became a mom, I was out of foster care for like a whole year before I became a mom.
Oh wow,
And
okay.
in that process, I was healing
Mhm.
yourself and taking care of another, human being is a challenge,
Absolutely, yeah.
because like I feel like, I've had a troubled childhood, but I know that feeling of, you know, of wanting to love someone or something, but you didn't receive that love, so you don't know how
Right.
to love.
You don't even know what that is.
And like you don't even know what that is. And I never want to be a statistic that hurt people, because
Mhm,
when
mhm,
I was
mhm.
younger, I did that. And
Right.
I seen where it got me. So now that
Mhm,
I have children, I don't want them to, feel the way that I have,
mhm,
and that I have felt with my mother and my father. And that came a lot with forgiveness and just distancing
mhm.
myself from them.
Okay.
So, just taking on those roles, I pray. I
Mhm,
pray a lot and I write.
mhm.
I
Okay.
pray and I write. I
And
pray
that's
and
how
I
you
write.
got up to the 25 digital products.
Yes.
Let's talk about your first three well actually let's start with your first book. Tell people how that came about.
Wow, for spiritual journey guide, I actually wrote a spiritual journey guide on my phone while I was working at
Mhm,
a transitional housing program that I was in called Volunteers of America.
okay.
And that was shortly after my third child was born.
Mhm,
And I've written those books on my phone. I found a publisher. And those, like that first book, A Spiritual Journey Guide, opened so many doors for me. And it
mhm,
was just
mhm.
incredible. Like, oh my gosh, I created a career that I love,
Right.
and people always wanted me to do this with my career, do that with my career.
Mhm.
But, this day and time, I'm not into people pleasing, you know.
Ooh, say that again. Say
I'm
that
not
again.
in, I'm not into people pleasing. If I created a life that you don't want, then you shouldn't be in it, period.
There
I'm
you go.
not I'm not, living like for example, my mom wanted me to be a nurse.
Mhm.
But I said I don't want to be a nurse. I want to use my passions and my gift, and that was right. And
Right.
and from that one book, I created 24 other products, and I'm just beyond proud of myself.
You should be. That's amazing. And one of the things that I wanna highlight for our audience is that is Ashley's decisions and her actions that have made the difference. She is not anchored into what happened to her. She acknowledges it and she has taken it upon herself to start the process of healing, but not just by herself. Healing isn't something that you can do by yourself. One of the great things about Ashley's books is that they're written for people who in Ashley's circumstances. A lot of times there are many of us who want to help people in bad circumstances, but we don't really understand. From an outsider's perspective looking in, we're like, oh, I used to hate it when people would tell millennials, well, if you didn't spend so much money on Starbucks, you'd have more money. I was like, minimum wage ain't changed in 10 years. That you can't save your way out of poverty. And so you have been, because you've lived these experiences, you have a way of talking to people who are in those experiences that connects. How important has it been in your book, in your writing, and in your advocacy to connect with the people that were in some situations like you were in?
Well, it helps me to speak to the younger and the older versions of myself. I
Mm.
actually speak and write of what I wanted to see when I was younger, or what I
Ooh.
wanted to see and hear when I was, I'm still young. I'm like, I'll
Okay.
be 32 this year, so I'm young.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like 10 years from now, like, well, I'm sorry, 10 years ago, if you would have told me that I would have made it this far, I would have looked at you and laughed. Like, I'm not never going nowhere. I'm going
Mm.
to stay where I'm at for the rest of my life. I'm not going to make nothing. That was my mindset.
Mm.
But with as I got older and I experienced more trauma and more
Mm.
hardships and more trials, it's like I've written and spoke what I wanted to hear when I was younger and in the midst of
Mm.
me entering adulthood.
What do they say? Be the change you want to see.
Yes.
And one of the things that I have noticed, especially in therapy as I'm going through my trauma and in the groups that I'm in, what I recognize is that that is a very common theme. People who have had trauma in their background. We try to become what we wish we would have had ourselves, and sometimes we do it unintentionally. The other thing that happens is that those of us who keep focusing in not on what we wish we would have had, but on our lack or on the people that hurt us, I have also found, even in myself, that you start taking on some of their traits as well. Because
Yes.
what you focus on is what you become. And you
Hmm.
focus on your success and your future, and you are becoming that. It's amazing. I talk about you all the time. Uh, and also real talk, one of the things that you have shown me is, and oh, shout out to Erica Myers. Oh, with this me talking to Ashley, that whole conversation would be a foul if I did not shout out Erica Myers and Fosterpreneur.
Eric, yeah.
Yeah, so I was about to be in trouble. I was she's probably looking at the clock like, he 38 minutes in, he ain't saying nothing about Fosterpreneur. So I know I'm gonna get a talking to at the next board meeting. Um, but you have taken on these opportunities, and you just keep pushing forward. For me, when you first joined and we were doing our that summer cohort for Fosterpreneur, I gotta be honest, I was concerned for you because I knew the amount of work that we were going to have to do. I knew that was going to be remote because of the whole COVID thing, and I was concerned. But you were like, all I need is a shot. If you put me in the program, I will be so grateful and I will work. And damn if you didn't. Not only is she working and completed the Fosterpreneur program in amazing fashion, you know what? I apologize. I'm doing it again, aren't I? I'm doing it again. I apologize. I'm telling your story for you. That's why you here. That's why you here. All right. So, if you don't mind, tell people about the Fosterpreneur program, what you did there, and then let's talk about how that has evolved.
Wow. Fosterpreneur has been a life changing experience since I even started.
Hmm.
Erica Myers, I actually met Erica first, and she was just so she was so sweet and gentle, and she just let me know, like, I'm here to support you. She let me know the next steps I had to take, and then she allowed me to introduce myself to you, and it's like my whole world just changed within Fosterpreneur. And I definitely love Fosterpreneur because it helped me to understand my brand mission. It helped me to understand who my target audience was. And it's just been a really life-changing experience, and I thank you guys so much for giving me that chance, because that's all I wanted was a shot, to prove myself, and I owe that to y'all, so I thank y'all a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Ashley is an example on how we reach back, how we need to reach back into the community. She didn't ask for no handouts. She ain't asked for nothing, for nothing. Just help me and give me a shot. And part of the other thing that I really want to anchor into and want to put out there is that she kept seeking help. Like, her job became finding help to change her circumstances. It wasn't just, well, I'm waiting for this one program to come through, or I'm waiting for this place to get some more money. She kept grinding at it. And that's the thing. And guess what? Ashley, throughout her grind, did it always work out the way you wanted it to?
No, it didn't. But
But you
that's
kept
God's
going.
way of telling you to trust his plan and his timing, and not our own.
Yeah. And that is one of the big things, is like not just doing things, but finding people who could come help and support you. And that's not going to be easy, because there's some programs who are well meaning but can't deliver. There's some
Mm,
people who are liars. And guess what? They dress like the people who tell the truth. So you can't tell the difference. And so
right.
part of what is the biggest, for me, has been some of the biggest challenges or biggest traumas in the Black community, is that when we embrace an organization or an entity or a program that supports us, and then all of a sudden, then they're gone because funding is gone, or somebody got a new job. I know that some of the programs that you have worked with have been there for a while. Did the what was your experience about working with brand new organizations versus working with some more established organizations?
Hmm. Ah, wow.
Hmm. You ain't know we were going this direction today, did you?
um,
You more
I
than
can,
anybody
I
should
can, I
know
can
that when you're talking to
say,
me, anything can happen.
oh yeah. Um, I can say from. Okay, downstairs. Okay,
Tell her, which one? Who's that?
that's Morgan. That's the baby.
Babe, tell Morgan I said hi.
William said hi. She said okay, and I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. That's cool.
I've had two new organizations that just started that say they were for human trafficking survivors. I
Hmm.
got into the program and I was judged left and right.
Ooh.
So, and then I went into one program. This was like so long ago, like before I even found the House of Ruth.
Okay.
Someone told me, so what did you do to get in? What did you do to get into that I'm into that situation of being
Whoa.
abused? It didn't end well. It
What?
didn't end
Wait,
well.
no, no, no,
It
no.
did not end well. So the lady was
Yo, are you
very
kidding
biased.
me?
Yeah, the lady was very biased, and she was like, "So what did you?" So the only thing they was looking at was the age difference between my abuser and me, and they was just saying like, "Why would you get with a man that age?" And it was just a lot of bias and a lot of like a lot of it made me feel some type of way, like, damn, like,
Absolutely.
were they right? Like, was I
They made
was
it
I
seem like it
wrong?
was your fault.
Yeah, like basically, and that's when I found the House of Ruth, and they just welcomed me with open arms. But those two organizations that try to they try to do that to me, they didn't even exist. Like, they were
They
gone.
didn't last.
They did
And
not
and and,
last.
and I want to make sure, because we talk about this often, is that one of the big things when you're working with disinvested communities is get to know them. Don't
Yeah.
just have anybody you're trying to. They're not problems to be fixed. They are people that things have happened to, and they need support. to rectify those things. And Ashley is a great example of that. And Ashley, again, I have to commend you on your resilience, because I know there have been people I know of. I know one person in particular who had a situation like that and was responded to in similar circumstance, and it shut her down for years. She went into a deep depression because she was like, "Wow, I always wonder, was it my fault?" And maybe it is.
Mm.
And so again, commending you for being focused on your decisions and making sure that you just kept anchoring it in. And I also want to make sure I do say that while this is Ashley's story, it doesn't have to be everybody. Everybody is not Ashley. We bring you Ashley's story so that you can get a sense of what's happening in the Black community and the resources and the way people are engaged to do it. But let's make sure Ashley is a very unique woman. Her example can serve as a guide, but please let's not hold anybody else up to Ashley's standard, because Ashley is amazing. And your person might be amazing in another area and not be able to do that. They just might need some additional support. Because again, the thing that Ashley keeps talking about is that she got support from a number of different resources. So hey, before we get ready to go, because we got a little bit of time. Tell me about the girls. Come on, tell me about, because it sounds like your role as a mother was one of the defining ones that really spurred you into action.
Oh man, I have three beautiful girls that irritate my whole being, but they are mine.
And that's what
And
they're supposed to do.
and they really saved my life, man. I don't
Mm.
know where I would be if it wasn't, God always says, I thought you could use a friend. So he gave me three little ones
Three
that
little
is,
friends.
yeah, three little
Oh,
friends.
and
And
and ladies and gentlemen, they are adorable. And oh my God, they're so funny and active, hilarious.
they are my hearts. And
Yeah.
with my first two children, like I said, with my first child's father, he was, abusive to me, and I had to leave him alone and become a single mom. I
Mm-hmm.
had to make that sacrifice because I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to, raise my family, in a two-parent household, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that doesn't happen that way,
Right.
you know. And then with my second child's father, she never got a chance to know her father. Her father was murdered when she was two.
Mm.
So it's like I had become a mother and a father,
Right.
to both of them. But with
Right.
Morgan, oh my gosh, she is a breath of fresh air.
Mhm.
She like, oh my gosh, I can't even explain it. Like Morgan is
Actually,
just so
I,
awesome.
I think I can help you with that. The explanation, that feeling that you're talking about, and what I realized with my kids, because my kids are 4 years apart. What I realized is that I was actually a different father to my second one than I was to my first. Those 4 years made a big difference because I had an opportunity to grow. I grew in the role of father, and I was able, especially after some time, to appreciate that role differently. So I realized that because at one point I was like, why is this so different? And I realized it wasn't that the kids were different, it was that I was different.
Mm, you hit a very good point.
Because
You hit a
talking
very
about
good point.
from what I know you well. I know that the woman you were with the first two is wholly different than the woman that you were by the time you had Morgan.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that as parents, and especially as parents who are leaders and entrepreneurs, is remember that all of the roles come into conflict eventually. That
Yes.
the entrepreneur part is going to come in conflict with your parenting. Your parenting is going to come in contact with your personal relationships, and your mental health is going to come in conflict with all of it. But again, one of the things that I love that you keep reiterating is that you can be more than one thing. I can love you to death and you can get on my damn nerves. And like those are and it doesn't make one more or less the other, and it's still all family.
Yes.
And okay. Yo, I love talking to my people. I'm like, wow, we 50 minutes in already. Damn. Okay,
Yeah.
I got some more shit to talk about, but let's um so as we get ready to kind of wind this down, I am really, 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 really grateful for the opportunity to know you. and to have
Thank
worked
you.
with you. And again, so grateful that you have agreed to work with me at the Finding Gang and helping these organizations that look to help women. To help victims of human trafficking and to help victims of domestic violence, to help them develop the critical capacity so they can get the grant funding they need, so they can get the attract the board members they want and things like that. And so, just as a personal thank you, and even deeper, thank you for showing me what's possible. In the 3 years I have known you, you have literally worked yourself out of poverty. And I want to say, like, that is amazing. And again, may take longer for some people, may take shorter times, but the fact that you did it is amazing. And in the circumstances and the context that you've been able to make all this stuff work. Oh, you know what? I got so into talking to you. We had people. I want to make sure I ain't miss a. Okay, people giving me shout outs and so. All right. Oh my God, I missed all the comments. I got so caught up into everything you were talking about. Oh my goodness, I was not being a good show host today. I would see this is again. Y'all don't understand what it's like when you get an opportunity just to kick back and talk to somebody you know. You forget all the business stuff. Hey, I'm at work. I keep forgetting I'm at work. I'm at work. It's like because real talk. Aside from the weird questioning, this is just a conversation that Ashley and I have on any other day.
Yep.
And I really appreciate the fact that we are able to share that. The fact that Ashley is open enough to really help people learn from her experience, and especially in the books that are just really focused on just healing self, about growing and about anchoring into what it is that you can be. So, Ashley, oh my God, this has been amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And guess what? So also I need to know when my invitation to be on your we're gonna talk about when my invitation to be on your podcast is coming because I think I might be in my feelings a little bit, but we're gonna talk about that off camera. That's not for the people. That's for us, okay? That's for us, but make sure we're gonna talk about that because I got
Okay.
things for you to say, okay?
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Tate. Yay! Told y'all I know dope people. I know dope people. I know dope. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. A couple of days ago, on Monday, I told you all that there was a piece that an artist that I work with back in my Radio for Real days did called "My Addiction." And I think it's a really interesting. We weren't able to play it on Monday, but I think it actually fits better today. It's a spoken word piece about addiction to love and how that can lead us down some very dark paths. So, I have had a wonderful time today, as always. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for Tamika Gibbons to talk to us all about all things real estate. So until then, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.
When I was little, I used to get high on mommy's stories. I was too young to have stories of my own, so I had to soar on the contact from hers. I would sit in her lap and tie a tourniquet around my mind to slow the flow of reality. As she would inject each word into my ear, my vision would cloud with the purple haze of romance. Brilliant imagery of love that cannot be described by my mortal vocabulary would consume my consciousness. The images and the stories all ended with the ring, the ultimate high. I absorbed every word and allowed the sticky, sweet fluid to course through me. I was addicted. I found others to fuel my habit. Like a village of drug dealers, each came to keep me supplied. Judy Blume, Walt Disney, and Shakespeare all did their part to keep me in the clouds, and my girlfriends regaled me in their stories, and stories that had been sold to them. Their chronic was my ecstasy. My lungs could not stay full enough of their beautiful smoke. I began to create my own stories where none existed in reality. I began to plan my way to the pure and uncut bliss of the ring. I injected myself nightly to the vibe of the quiet storm. My veins began to collapse under the weight. Then I found the ring. It was mine, and I belonged to it. The legend said that all I need is just one hit from the ring and I would be high for life. I took a deep drag from the ring. I pulled like my life depended on it, because it did. A buzz. I had messed this up. I had done something wrong. I must not have taken it right. I scoured my body searching for a vein that was worthy of this ride. The artery in my inner thigh ached for the ring, so I fed it. A buzz. I snorted the ring. I drank the ring. I added romance, passion, servitude to the ring. More buzzes. I did not understand what went wrong, but there I sat painfully sober than ever. I would even sneak off to try and get high without the ring. My penance was depression. Over the years, I convinced myself that everyone had merely lied. They had spun the tales to me that I had spun to them. I looked back at Mommy and realized that her magical stories were never about her ring, but always about what a ring could be. I thought about my friends and realized that their stories ended in heartbreak, vows to never touch love again, followed by a desperate search for a new dealer. I convinced myself that our communally diluted orgy of emotion was nothing more than us getting ourselves high, huffing and pretending it was more. After years, I was okay. I enjoyed the buzzes I got from my ring. It is a good ring. It is stable. It loves me. It supports me. It gave me beautiful babies. I didn't need an imaginary high. This is a good life. Now you are here. I met you socially first. I had to learn to suppress my addiction. My cravings were satisfied by my awards and accomplishments. I knew I would never truly be high, but that was okay. I talked to you and your words and imagery were so familiar I began to drift. My cynicism kicked in and I remembered my addiction. You were too young and cute to get me high. You were just lost in this emotional drug culture, and it was my job to spare you the pain of the buzz. As I tried to convince you to just say no, I felt your words in my heart, making my blood warm and my mind sore. I couldn't let you get me high again. I couldn't keep you out. The Jones was back. I couldn't breathe. I plotted ways to get your next verbal 8-ball. Then you allowed me to inhale the blue smoke of your lips into my soul, and I saw God. I think about the ring when you are not here, because the ring is. I sit trembling, anticipating your next touch. I am strung out. I can only take a few more hits of you. Then my life will become a farce. Lives will be destroyed. I will not belong to the ring. I will be completely and totally addicted to you. I'm going to have to give you an opportunity to leave, to go now. If you don't, you won't be able to. I will addict you.